Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for your flexibility yesterday. A number of you have checked in with me just to make sure everything was good, and can say that yes, I'm doing well. Unfortunately, there were a lot of delays that were outside my control yesterday with the cancer center, and basically, I'm just kind of at the mercy of how fast their team moves on things. So sorry I wasn't able to join you in person yesterday, but thanks again for your flexibility. And I just wanted to share a few takeaways as far as SEO, search engine optimization, and talk a little bit about how that applies to our work in social media as well. So first off, why does SEO matter? Why are we even talking about this? Well, there are several basic reasons, and some of those are that it can obviously drive traffic and conversions and revenue for if you're a company. If you're a nonprofit, it's crucial for fundraising and bringing in those donations. And it really can make the difference between a business / organization dying or thriving, because when somebody goes to do a search for a particular type of need that they have, or looking for a certain type of business or organization, if you're showing up on page one, that's gonna of the search results, that's gonna be great, and obviously bring in a lot more traffic than if you are on, say, the 7th or 8th page of the Google results. So that's why it's important to have that type of engagement, and it really is a matter of just getting more eyeballs on your content. So a couple of stats that I think are interesting in this regard. So 53% is the percentage of all trackable website traffic that comes from organic search. So that means that 53% of people are going to websites based on what they're typing into a browser search bar, as opposed to going directly to a website from a provided link. So that's good to keep in mind too. So it's like the majority of people that come to a given website are typically getting there from doing that search through a browser. And then we obviously know how much power Google holds over many facets of our online experiences. But basically anywhere from like 91 to 92%, that's kind of what the industry says is the total worldwide search engine market that Google currently holds. So they are obviously the big player in the game, and that makes it that much more important to understand kind of how Google operates. And we don't know every part of how their algorithm works necessarily, but they are good about providing all kinds of tips. And actually, they provide a guide for content marketers, online communicators, every so often that basically tells you the latest ways that they're ranking different pages in their search results, and that can really give you a lot of good insights onto what you need to do to adapt your online strategy. All right, so this visual right here I thought was just fascinating. Kind of illustrates exactly what we're talking about. So CTR stands for click-through rate, and then positioning. So basically what you're seeing here with this chart is you see how on the left side we have the graph, or the line on the graph, is much higher, obviously, and then it continues to decrease gradually as we go on to move to the right. So basically, if you look at the numbers at the bottom, that is going to be your position as an organization or a company, with where you're showing up essentially in those Google search results. So if you are number one on that page when somebody goes to search for you, you can see it gets a pretty great rate of engagement and that high CTR. And then it's a pretty precipitous drop off, right? From there going to if you're the second in the rankings, and then for sure as you move longer or move further along in that line, you can see how much it really decreases the amount of traffic that you're going to get to your website. So that's what we're talking about when if you're using the right strategies, it can really make a huge difference in terms of your organization or your company succeeding. So good to keep that in mind. Many of you have, you should be hopefully familiar with this idea of like the customer journey, the funnel. So any organization or company is going to have a series of steps basically that your customer will go through. So there's at the top of that, there's the idea of kind of attracting them, making sure that they're aware of what you have to offer, and then basically you're leading them through that whole funnel. And your most engaged or involved customers are going to be potentially people that you could have serve as brand advocates if they really like your product or your organization. And so then they can actually become a part of amplifying that message for you. So this is another image or piece that I took from Angie Ginsler, who I think did a great job of kind of breaking this down. She's focusing here specifically on the online experience. And she mentions that it really is about, getting customers first to visit your website. If you can get them to opt into an email list, then you've got their contact info and you've got a direct way to reach them. Hopefully you can convince them at some point to purchase your product or service, or in the case of a nonprofit, maybe they're making a donation or actually volunteering their time. And then from there, it really is about, can you get them to repeat that behavior? And then lastly, if they can become, like we're saying, that brand advocate to really tell others about you, to say what they really like about your company, your organization. And that can really help to get your message out there. And it often will come across in a much more kind of authentic and genuine way when it's told by one of your biggest fans, as opposed to kind of that one-way messaging that we might see from a lot of companies. All right, so kind of in that same line of thinking, so this is another helpful visual that I just wanted you to take a look at. So hopefully you're familiar with the idea of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So basically that's a pyramid that breaks down kind of the different things, the different needs that we all have for survival. So it basically starts at the bottom from like the baseline needs that we all need, and things like food, shelter, etc. And then once you move up that hierarchy of needs, then by the time you get to the top of the pyramid, you're really talking about those things that for us as humans can really help us to be our best selves, to be fully self-realized, because once we have all of those other basic needs taken care of, then we can function at a high level and really focus more on kind of the intellectual sides of things and really giving back to our communities in a much higher kind of way of operating. So taking that idea and translating it to SEO in particular, I thought this was interesting how if you start here at the bottom, this is where we want to be concerned with crawl accessibility. So it's really just about making sure that search engines know how to find your page, your website, and index that content. Then as we move up from there, it's about including that compelling type of content that's going to get people the answers they need to what they were searching for with their queries. Then we move up to those specific keywords. So those will be any kind of keywords that are relevant to your company, your industry, and those should obviously be included throughout your content. From there, then we kind of move into user experience. Is that like that can be looking at a number of things, such as like how fast does your website load? If it's really slow, obviously that's going to turn off your users and you're going to lose them pretty fast. Also kind of, what's the user interface like if they are on a desktop viewing your site versus a mobile device. From there, we move up to share-worthy content. So again, that's that idea of amplification. Are there things that are of such value that you're providing that can be shared by other people and that your audience will be motivated to pass along to their networks? Then moving up from there, so we have our title, URL, and description. So those are kind of those basic things when you type in a search that are going to come up about your website. And it says really the purpose here is to draw high CTR in the rankings. Now, with some of these SEO sites, you'll run into kind of SEO or tech jargon. So I want you to be sure and know what these stand for. So CTR is just referring again to that click-through rate, which is basically the ratio of impressions to clicks that you have on your URL. And so basically it's looking at of the number of people who are seeing your website, how many are actually like clicking on that and visiting your website. So you can determine CTR by taking the number of clicks divided by the number of impressions. And that will give you your answer as far as how many people are actually clicking into your website. So that's a pretty common metric that a lot of online marketers, communicators use to see how effective their SEO is. But just good to be aware of that and to put that in your back pocket. So in the future, you'll know exactly what that means. And then we move to our final phase there in the pyramid. And this is referring to our snippets, our schema markets. And the purpose of that is to stand out in SERPs. So this part is referring to that basic kind of snippet where you're talking about who you are as a company or organization. And then this is another acronym to know. So SERP basically just stands for Search Engine Results Page. And even though it kind of has a fancy acronym, it is really just referring to the page that comes up whenever you enter your search into a search browser like Google. And then it's that first page of results that comes up right there that you might see. So hopefully that is helpful for kind of like if you were approaching working for a client maybe that you've taken on, or you're working for a company or an organization that needs help with their SEO. This is kind of the process that you could follow from the bottom to the top in terms of addressing all of the different areas that need to be working well to have a good SEO performance. All right, so let's move to talking a little bit about search intent. So this is basically just kind of understanding the behavior and the intentions of those people out there who are searching for information. And so there's basically these three different types of categories of what people might be searching for. So the first category is do, and that refers to kind of more of the transactional queries where people are looking to achieve a specific action. So maybe they want to go to register for an event. Maybe they are looking to buy a product, going out to Amazon.com, and maybe they're searching for something and it leads them into Amazon, and they just want to have a quick user experience, get to whatever it is that they're trying to achieve. And so they're not really as concerned about spending a lot of time on a particular website as long as they can accomplish what they're setting out to do in a timely fashion. Our second one there is no. So these are going to be more kind of informational queries where the user wants to know more about a particular subject. And so that it could be anything from, hey, I'm curious about, this thing that people are talking about in the news. I want to know more about it. Or maybe you're doing research for a paper as a student. So basically this is when the user is going to spend a little bit more time digging into whatever they're trying to find out about. And these are tied closely to micro moments. So this could also be things like when a user needs to know something kind of there and then. So it could be like examples are checking train times, stock prices, things that are very fluid and dynamic kind of in their nature, where you would just want to go in and be able to find that information quickly. But it's maybe going to change pretty often. So the information might be different from day to day. So our final category there is go. And that is going to be what we would consider navigational queries. So let's say a user is wanting to go to a specific website or location. So sometimes maybe you don't know the exact URL of a website that you're looking for, but it is basically using those search engines to get to a website that you already have in mind. Or it could be like a specific type of location, either kind of location on the internet, or it could be offline, but you're basically wanting to be able to have the information you need to get from point A to point B. So those are our three categories: do, know, go. Helpful to just remember that in terms of like designing a user experience and making things as easy as possible for your audience to accomplish what they're looking for. All right, so some 4 strategies to drive traffic to your website, again, from our expert, Angie Ginsler. But the first one, this should be obvious as far as including keywords. But the important takeaway here is that this should apply to all of your content on a website. So not just the written paragraphs that you have, but also in things like podcasts and videos. Obviously, there's always an options to include descriptions of these other kinds of media that you have, and to have those keywords as part of that. So a good practice is to, let's say you're creating a video and you throw it on YouTube. That's great because YouTube is also a search engine, and that can help you to gain more amplification with your message. But you also want to be posting that same video content to your website, because again, that's another opportunity to capitalize on these keywords. Secondly, so social media can be obviously a great way to give value to your audience by either educating, entertaining them, or inspiring them with content. And we want to be careful here of not just kind of focusing on promotion, or in the case of nonprofits, I think a number of you mentioned on your analytics assignments how you were seeing cases where they were strictly asking for a donation, and how that obviously was not as helpful or valuable, and tended to create less engagement with the audience, as opposed to something that had a greater kind of value to it. So social media can be an awesome way to drive that traffic to your website. Let's say that you're providing kind of a teaser or short summary on social media, but then it's driving people to maybe a longer article or a longer blog post or video, all of those kinds of things that might be hosted on your website. Number 3, so we've talked about this a lot in class, but the idea of collaborating with other either individuals or organizations or companies, this is where kind of the idea of influencers can come into play. But this can be a great way to really amplify that message. And if you can figure out how to make it mutually beneficial, where it's like a win-win for not only your organization, but for the person or the company or organization you're partnering with, that can really help you to tap into their audience as well as your existing network that you have. And then lastly, including some kind of paid ad strategy. So there are different ways to do this. Obviously, through Meta is one option, where you can reach specific audiences. Google Ads, you can be pretty specific about who you're targeting and what keywords you're using. But the best SEO experts really recommend to have a combination of paid ad strategy. So you're actually like putting some money behind your messaging, but really you should also make sure that your organic search is those results are really strong for anybody who's searching for your company or organization. So it's really kind of an integrated approach with both of those avenues. All right, so because our class in particular is focused on social media, I want you to understand what the relationship generally is like between social media and SEO. Because they're not exactly the same, but they are definitely areas that can both benefit from each other. So one thing to know is that Google basically ranks websites with robust social profiles. So if you've got a great presence on social media, that can actually play a part in getting Google's attention, and they might take that into account when ranking your overall website in terms of how many followers you have and how much people are engaging with your content. But Google says in particular that those social media profiles don't directly influence those rankings. So it's kind of like it is a factor, but it's not necessarily one of the main criteria that they're looking at in terms of ranking those results on the search page. However, that being said, this is where social media can really help SEO. So what are those ways that the SEO can benefit from social media? So one is, boosting overall content performance, providing opportunities to gain backlinks. So again, backlinks between social media and your website can be great to funnel that traffic and direct it to where you want to go. Ranking your social media profiles along with your website. If both are doing well, then they can kind of play off each other and benefit. Sometimes there are people that you go search for an organization or a company, and maybe you prefer to go to their social media pages to have more kind of direct information or learn something about those that organization that might take you a little longer to decipher from going to their website. All right, so driving traffic to your website overall, we know that, but also providing those social media channels can be a way to add greater trust, to build that trust, and to also boost your online reputation, because it gives you that credibility when people see you operating not just on your website, but communicating what you're doing through these other channels as well. All right, and then so lastly, things that I want to leave you with. So these are just a few of the many SEO tools that are out there, but things that you might want to use both for your current campaign that you're working on as a group, but also just, you might think about bookmarking some of these resources as you go into your careers post-graduation. So number one on the list, BuzzSumo is a nice tool to explore. They've got a content discovery arm of what they have to offer that really allows you to filter not only by topics, but you can search by time periods. So you can kind of find out what are people talking about, what are people searching on in relation to different specific topics. The second one, Answer the Public, is an awesome tool for helping to generate keywords, totally free, also has good data visualizations. The YouTube blog, so this is owned by YouTube, but it basically provides insights into kind of the latest trends and things happening in popular culture. So that might be a good place to go to just to understand kind of what's trending, what are people talking about, is there any way for your brand to tap into that, and just to keep a pulse on what is happening in larger society. And then lastly, there is Uber Suggest, which is created by Neil Patel, one of the Google founders. So this is basically a Google Chrome extension that you can install, and it can provide insights into keywords in your specific market. So let's say you're a small business in Lawrence, and you just want to find out kind of what are people searching for specifically in Lawrence and the surrounding area in regards to your industry or what you offer. That's a great place or a great tool you can use to find that out. And then lastly, so these four resources are great, but they're, as I said, just one of many. So you can click on this link here. This is for 44 free social media or for SEO tools. And this is provided by Search Engine Journal, also a great website, great resource. But you can spend time scrolling through here and basically looking at many of these options, and they tell you kind of what are the benefits of using these particular tools. But there's definitely a lot here that you can pull from. So definitely would encourage you to bookmark this site as well. They are, in addition to sharing these resources, they also have kind of the latest and popular news stories, but also lots of great guides on just kind of what's happening with SEO and the latest in terms of like trends and what's happening online. So you can really take some of those recommendations and apply it to your particular brand that you're working with. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for your attention. Thank you again for your flexibility. Let me know if you have any questions either about SEO or if there are questions that are coming up as you're working on your strategies and tactics assignment. Seems like you guys have a good handle on that, but let me know if there are any follow-up questions you have on that. I am planning on getting some feedback to each of you soon on your strategic communication plan. So there may be some things that you've recommended there that you might want to adjust or tweak in the strategies and tactics assignment. So otherwise, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. And I'm definitely looking forward to being back in person with you next Wednesday. Take care. Bye-bye.